with a whistle. So like and share this episode. Yes, it's a Tuesday afternoon. I'm in the great state of North Carolina. Yep. And today I'm going to talk about why small solopreneurs like me and probably like you, how we can beat the big companies, how we can win against the big companies today. And it's a very logical answer to this, really. And once I get into it, you see, and it really makes sense if you really think about it. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing I've learned, when you're if you're starting something from scratch, and if it's just you, you have to become. Well, sometimes you might not even have a choice. You have to become very creative. I found that most people, when they don't have everything that they need, especially money, they don't have enough money to get started, but they get started anyway. They just do the best they can with what they got. People become very creative in that, if that's the case, for most of us. Most people I know that started something on the internet, it was just them. They didn't have no $500,000 budget. They ain't had no $100,000. They didn't have $1,000,000. No, they started with one person, and just kept going and going and going. And over time, once they get a certain amount of money, invest the money back into what they got. That's how most people get started. Most people don't have no investor to come and be like, hey, take this $10,000 and give me 10% of your company. No, that ain't most people. No, most people start with a couple $100, if that, in most cases, and they just keeps going and going and going and getting bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger. If they don't give up, you know. And sometimes some people have to they have to shut it down. Some people have to shut it down for multiple reasons. Most of the time, it's cash related. They run out of money. You know, you might have hired you might have hired 4 or 5 people, maybe 10 people, or maybe more, and can't make payroll. Couldn't make payroll. Couldn't pay people. Well, some people either got to lay off or shut down, or sometimes both. That happens. Because what happens is when people start to hire people, they over leverage. A lot of people kind of like I've heard people say stuff like they thought they was going to get this contract, they thought they was going to get this deal, but it never became official. They never got signed on pen and paper on a dotted line. It was just he say, she say. And then when that didn't go through, They didn't have enough money to make payroll. Couldn't pay people. So they ended up having to shut down. That happens. That happens a lot. Actually. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Tell me where you're from. That happens a lot. Really. But people like they think they're gonna get a deal done at the last, sometime at the last hour, it just didn't go through. Or the last day didn't go through. For whatever reason. Maybe the person changed their mind. Maybe they got a better offer. Maybe they got a better price. Who knows? And then when that deal doesn't go through, a small business or somebody that's solo, like me or you, a lot of times we're dependent on that deal going through, because that's going to bring in more cash. And if it doesn't happen, oh man, that hurts. That's like a hit in the gut, in the stomach. And you might not be able to recover from that if you over leverage. Good afternoon. If you over leverage yourself. Now, if you don't over leverage yourself, there's a good chance you're going to win if you stay in it long enough. Sometimes it's not really about outsmarting people. It's really about staying in the game long enough. That's what it's really about. See, people can have more money than you, be a bigger business than you, have more popularity than you, be in the press, the newspaper, the magazine, on television. They might be famous. But that doesn't mean they're gonna be they're gonna stay around for the long term. They might have a 4 or 5 year run. But you might have a 10-year run. And if you have a 10-year run and they have a 4 or 5 year run, they're gone, you still around. There's a good chance you're going to win. You're going to be successful doing whatever that is. And here's another thing about a lot of the big companies. They have so many people that they have to deal with. Gotta have 3-4 meetings a day. Nobody wants to make a decision. I mean, in most cases, we don't even know who's supposed to make the decision. So by the time someone makes a decision, you're already 3 to 5 steps ahead of them. You way ahead. You way down the road. And this big company's still waiting around for somebody in the damn conference room to make a decision. So, as someone that's solo, you can move fast. You don't have to wait around. You make all the decisions. And plus, your decisions must be calculated. You can't just throw money around like they do in these big corporate companies. You don't have a budget for that. And these corporate companies, the people that's making the decisions, it ain't their money. But the money that you're spending, the money that I'm spending, is my money. I'm going to be paying at some point, whether it's on a credit card or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the people working at the corporate companies, it ain't their money. It's the company's money. So they're not really as calculated and as strategic as you and me would be. Because they're focused on their job position more than anything. They just don't want to be looked. They don't want to be looked bad. They don't want to make a bad decision. That's what they're focused on at the big corporate companies. But us, on the other hand, we're focused on building momentum and being successful. That's why our focus, our next move has to be the best move. Now, I'm not saying the next move always wins, but that's the mentality that we have to have. We can't focus on just looking good, or no. We can't wait around and see what's going to happen. No, we have to test. We have to test everything. Everything has to be tested and measured. Every move we make, online, offline, everything has to be tested, measured, and you got to get the math right. It's a game of mathematics at the end of the day. And nothing gets better until it's measured. That's what it's really about. If you can't get the math right, you're going to have to shut it down and start all over again. In most cases. That's what it really comes down to. Because you got to think about it like this. How long can you go without making a profit? That's what it really comes down to at the end of the day. How long can you go without making a profit? Because the game is this. How do you? The game is well, I'm not gonna say it's like Vegas, but basically the idea is you want to invest a certain amount of money up front, and eventually you want to reap those rewards later. Some people call it ROI, whatever. You call it whatever you want to call it. But the concept is you want to invest some money up front, and you want to be strategic about this too. This is not Russian roulette. This ain't a pinball machine. But you want to have all your steps in order, everything mapped out rather on a paper or however you want to do it. Your workflow, however you want to do it. So the idea is map out every move you want to make, find the best locations, best platforms, etc. How much it's going to cost, and per click, per action, however you want to do it. But the whole idea is you want to put a certain amount of money up front, and you have to test it out. It might take a week or two for you to kind of test the waters, so to speak, and see what happens. And plus, being online, things move fast. So after about a week or two, you'll be able to see the numbers and see how much it costs every time somebody clicked your ad, your article, your video, whatever. You can see everything today. You can see how much, and even with every click, how many orders did you get? Who took action and bought whatever you had? Who bought your book? Who bought your digital product? Whatever it is. But everything has to be measured. Now, sometimes it might cost too much to get in certain markets. If you're solo or even a small business, sometimes it might cost too much. Um, a good example of that is anything that's in finance. Most things that's I would say financial services. That area online is very expensive. So if you're man, I've heard people say people that ran ads on Google Ads say one click might be $50. So see, like that, see, I would never get in a niche or area like that because I can't afford to pay $50 a click. That's too much for me personally. I would not get into that niche. That's just too high for me. You know what I'm saying? But and this is where a lot of big businesses have the advantage. So they can afford to pay $50 a click. I can't. You know what I'm saying? So they have that advantage. They have the money. But I have speed, creativity. I can move like I want to move. I don't have to wait around for no decision makers, any of that stuff. So, you know, and plus big companies, they can spend millions. They can spend millions and nobody has to be up front. Nobody has to say anything. The money does the talking. But it usually takes them a long time to get to be known in the marketplace and get established. Let's take Amazon for example. It took Amazon years to be who they are today. It didn't take them. It took them years. It took them a long time. You know, doesn't happen overnight. But if you're a solo type dude, you starting from scratch, you can move faster. You can maneuver. If you can test this out. If that doesn't work, you can shut it down and move on and try something else that does work. A lot of big companies, they can't do that because it's too much structure. This is why if I can have the similar type of website that a big company have today, and I can compete against them today because of the technology that's advanced today. They might have more money than me, but I have more creativity than them, and I can move faster, and I can test things, and if that doesn't work, I move on to the next thing, or I adapt. I can do more in a week than somebody in a big company can do in. It might take them 2 months to do what I'm doing, and I can do it in a week because they have a lot of decision makers, and someone has to be responsible for all the stuff that they have going on. Because if it doesn't work, it's that person's fault. You know, see, I don't have to deal with that. At the end of the day, if it doesn't work for me, it's my fault because there's nobody in here. It's just me in here. You know. So that's how we can compete against the big companies today. You know, the technology is going to continue to get better and better over time and advance over time. And it's going to make it easier for people like me and you online. So that's it. And check this out. That's what my book is about. The Cockroach Marketer. The underground strategy for growing an audience, dominating social media, and becoming impossible to ignore. That's what this book is all about. being an underdog and winning. And remember, like I said, sometimes it's not about outsmarting somebody. It's really about staying in the game long enough. That's what it's really about. Sometimes. You don't got to be the biggest. You don't got to be the smartest. You don't even have to be the best. But if you stay in the game long enough, there's a good chance you're going to win. So that's all I got. Check this out, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Like, share this video. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.